Hey llamas, so guess what? We're almost home from our massive road trip, and it's been amazing, but we're kind of tired. We're kind of over it. Kind of want to be home, but guess what? We just got to talk to our missionary in Colombia because of the new rule that missionaries get to call home and talk to their families.
It was very fun to talk to him because we were not expecting that at the beginning of the week, and now we get to talk to him every week.
Right, so awesome. So sorry that we're coming to you from inside the budget truck, but
coming to you live from the budget truck.
It's freezing and it's getting dark and cold, and this is how we roll. So we're
all right,
getting cozy, and we're gonna give you a message.
Not that cozy.
The message is kind of has to do with like all the time that we've been spending together, like 24 hours for the last 5 days. Do you still like me?
24 hours a day for the last 5 days, not 24 hours over the last 5 days. Gotta be clear.
You still like me?
I love you. I like you more.
Okay, so we've been talking about how, actually been doing a lot of talking, which is always good for any marriage, but we were talking about how we make a good team.
We do. We make actually a really good team.
Let's try this again.
You're the yin to my yang.
All right. And, but you know, what's really interesting about that is that we really come from totally different backgrounds. We come from different places, different circumstances.
100% different on almost every point.
Right, because like I grew up in the same home, living in the same house pretty much most of my life.
And I never lived anywhere longer than 2 years, ever.
I went to the same school since I was 12. I had the same friends.
And I went to 5 high schools.
I had a family that we went to church every Sunday, family night, scripture study, all that stuff.
I wasn't baptized till 10 because nobody cared, and barely went to church maybe a half a dozen times my entire life until my mission.
And my family was pretty traditional. Dad went to work, Mom stayed home and took care of us, and it's just kind of that, you know, traditional family situation.
And my mom worked 3 jobs just to keep us in food, as my dad died when I was 1 year old, and my mother raised 6 kids, of which I was the youngest.
Even our blood type is different. I'm O negative, and he's
B positive.
It's really annoying.
It's a true statement, though.
because I've often thought that sometimes I could be a little negative.
She's not negative. She's a realist, and there's a big difference to that. And I actually love that about her.
I'm a really happy realist, though.
Yeah, and she's a beautiful realist.
Okay, anyway, it's tight quarters right now. So the thing that I love about just that concept of him being B positive is because he really is the most positive person I've ever met. In fact, I've called him an incurable optimist. And sometimes it annoys me, but for the most part, it's actually a really good quality. And he'll take any situation and just make the best of it. He doesn't complain. And he just believes in himself and believes in those around us and those around him, excuse me. And that's kind of trickled into our family. And he's taught me a lot about the importance of just being positive and happy and seeing the good and just making the best out of any situation. And he's just, it's made him it not made him because he's always been, but he's such a good dad. And he loves his children. In fact, I didn't think anybody could beat my dad because my dad is a pretty amazing man. But Rob is like fiercely, he just loves his kids fiercely. He's interested in their activities. He makes a ton of sacrifices to make sure that we're safe and happy. And it's the most important thing to him, and his kids love him. And I love the fact that he is such a good dad, but he didn't have a dad growing up. And I thought that, I just think that's such an interesting thing because he's got some major dad skills. So why do you have such major dad skills, honey?
Major dad skills?
Major dad skills.
Well,
I'm going to give you the camera for a minute.
Oh, you can't. No. I was going to say, I'm driving, so I can't
Go
really hold
ahead.
the camera.
Go ahead.
I grew up pretty non-traditional, as you just learned. My father was killed when I was 1 year old, and I was the youngest of 6 kids. And so I didn't have a very traditional, in fact, I had a very non-traditional upbringing. She had the same mom, dad, everything her whole life. I actually had 5 stepdads, and 4 stepdads. Stepdad number 1 and 4 were the same guy, and pretty non-traditional actually. But I'll tell you what, she asked me where I learned my dad skills. I had a really great mom. That's how I learned my dad skills. I had a mother that told me she loved me every single day, and because of that, I really felt like the void of a dad was pretty well filled because I had a great mom. But here's what I've learned about the whole situation, about how I grew up. Even though it was non-traditional, I never once felt alone, because even though I didn't have an earthly father, I always knew I had a heavenly father. My mother, even though we didn't go to church growing up because she worked 3 jobs and was just trying to keep us in food, we never lacked love, and I never once lacked the understanding that I came from a heavenly father. So one of my favorite quotes is by Henry David Thoreau, and he says, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you've imagined." And because I learned that when I was 19 years old, I never once ever felt like I couldn't live the life I wanted. And that was a really good teaching experience for me. And even though I didn't have a dad in the home, I always wanted to be a great dad because I knew that was something that I lacked. And so my kind of takeaway for you would be is, even if you don't live in ideal circumstances and you don't come from ideal circumstances, because other than my wife, I don't know anybody that has ever come from ideal circumstances, that does not define your future. Your past does not define your future. So just realize that whatever life you want to live, you can go create that for yourself regardless of the circumstances from which you came. We love you. I love you. You coming in?
You know what?
What?
You're hot. You know, being a good dad, being a righteous priesthood holder, taking care of your woman and your kids.
My ladybird.
It's hot. Caliente.
She has Spanish on the brain because we just talked to Carter. Elder Mac.
Go ahead and finish your testimony.
Really?
Go finish it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've learned to love the gospel because I've learned that the gospel gives me a foundation, a base on which I was able to build my life. And even though I didn't learn the Joseph Smith story until I was in the MTC, about ready to go serve a mission, I had faith, I had a testimony. I just didn't know all the teachings, but that didn't keep me from having a testimony, because I knew that it was true, because I prayed about it. Then I went and learned it. I know it sounds silly, it was a little backwards, but it's how my journey, unorthodox as it is, it's how my journey was. And because I married someone with a phenomenal testimony as well, it's only strengthened over the years. So go create the life that you imagine for yourself. Shama-Llama.
You got this. Let's llama kiss.
Llama kisses. You have to see. I can't see because I'm looking at the road.
That was like a kiss on the cheek, but that's okay. You got this. We love you guys.
G-rated for the...
G-rated for everyone. We love you guys. Shama-Llama.
Ciao.